All right, welcome back. We are watching KUTV Biashara Tuesday, and right now we are seated for a discussion that I promised before we left for the break. We were to have a discussion on the rights or the plight of non-teaching staff in our education sector. And this morning I'm joined by members of the Kenya Union of Domestic Hotels, Educational Institutions and Hotels, Hospital Workers. I'm joined by the Second Deputy Secretary General, and I'm also joined by the Senior Deputy Secretary General of KUTV. They're here with me in studio. Let me have them introduce themselves to you. I'll begin from you, Johnson.
Good morning, Sylvia. My name is Johnson Njine. I'm the Second Deputy Secretary General of KUTV Workers Union, and also a team player in the education sector, whereby I represent the universities. Mm-hmm. Yes.
You're the one representing us.
Yes.
Because all right,
yes.
Thomas.
And I'm happy to be here.
Karibu sana.
Yes.
Yes, Thomas Mboya. Good morning, Sylvia.
Morning.
I am Thomas Mboya, and to our viewers also, good morning. I am Thomas Mboya, the Senior Deputy Secretary General of KUTV, and basically I will be responding or informing the viewers about basic education, that is secondary, primary, and yeah.
All right. So we are well represented. We are represented by Johnson here, and Thomas is representing the high school and primary associations of the non-teaching staffs in those different associations. So this morning, I want us not just to talk about the rights of the non-teaching staff in these various institutions, but then I want us to understand what role do they play, because often when you're talking about the education sector or the success of a student, we're always looking at the teacher and the learner, forgetting about we have lab technicians in those schools, we have those who are helping them in their dormitories, those who are helping them in preparing their meals, have those who are protecting them. Because right now we are not calling them watchmen. The president said we use a different term.
Yes.
I'm forgetting the name that the
security personnel.
Yes. And we have so many categories of these people. What is the magnitude of the role that these people play that we often overlook? Now that you've interacted with them, what magnitude do they carry?
Sylvia, let me tell you that the non-teaching staff play a critical role in the learning of institutions. You know, there is this assumption that the core mandate of institutions is learning, but without the non-teaching staff, learning cannot take place. From the gate, we have the security personnel who welcome us. We have the groundsmen and groundswomen. We have the cleaners. We have the cooks. We have the secretaries. They all play a critical role towards the betterment of learning. So without them, the teacher who is in the class cannot perform his or her duty well without, without now the non-teaching staff playing their duty and playing the roles and responsibilities that they have been employed. So this myth of saying that the core mandate of institution is learning, you cannot say that without having, the non-teaching staff performing what they should perform. Yes.
Now, Thomas, coming back to, do you think that we really misunderstand the mandate of the non-teaching staff? If so, what are we misunderstanding in their roles?
Actually, if you look at the Education Act, the way it was set up, and the roles these non-teaching staff are playing in our learning institution, and especially secondary schools and primary schools, you will discover that the board of management are missing to understand that these are playing a very crucial role in our learning institution. For example, my brother has said that right away when you enter into a high school, a secondary school, now they are called senior schools, You enter there, the first person you meet is a non-teaching staff who is a very important person. That person is supposed to portray the image of the institution. He's supposed to show you as a visitor or as a parent in that institution that you are really, the institution is really a learning center. So you find that most boards of management, they misunderstanding the really important role these people are playing. And that's why we are here as a union. And our role is to ensure that these people, their rights is protected. We are the voice for them. And since they are neglected, they are seen like second-hand people. Let me give an example. An institution of about 1,000, a secondary school of about 1,000, or 500 students, minus a cleaner of a toilet. Do you think the environment will be a conducive environment of learning?
Not at all.
It is not going to be a conducive environment of learning. Definitely it will be chaotic. So based on what they do, actually we can say the society should come to the realization that these are crucial people who are playing great roles in our learning institution. If the tea delays to be delivered during break time to the teachers will not offer quality subjects or learning areas to this student. If the student fails to get the meal, there's going to be a problem there. So we can say that it's high time we recognize that these people are playing a great role the way my brother has said.
Okay. Now, let's talk about their terms of employment or engagement with schools.
Yes.
Because most of the time when you're talking about my right, we are always talking about money in one way or another. So based on your assessment with the number of union members that you're having, what is the ratio of or the terms of employment that you've encountered between contracts and those employed on permanent terms? What are these ratios and how do they vary?
Sylvia, it's unfortunate because the employers in this country have embraced precarious work. You will find that in many institutions, there are different terms of employment. You will find there is permanent and pensionable, there are contractees, there are short-term contracts, there are even casuals. And nowadays, we have gone to the extent of outsourcing. This is killing the morale of the non-teaching staff because you find those different terms of employment, being applied selectively to people working in the same environment, doing the same work. That is what we call discrimination. And as a union, we are doing a lot of work to fight that. And Sylvia, to be very honest, members of KUTV union have really been affected because most of them have been put into those short-term contracts. These short-term contracts, the period that they are being put into. Some are being put into 3 months, others into 6 months. There is no certainty in this work. We also find that some of our jobs or some of the members that we represent, their works have been outsourced. For example, the security, the cleaning. Now they have gone to the extent of outsourcing the catering department, which plays a critical role. Such kind of differential treatment of workers who are working in the same environment is not right, and the government needs to do something about it because we as the union, we have done our best. We have done petitions to the government to ensure that our workers and the members that we represent are protected. So there is that differential treatment, there is that discrimination, and when workers are being put into different terms of employment and being subjected into different terms and conditions of employment, you find that they are not benefiting the same. For example, the ones who are in permanent and pensionable, you find that they earn annual increments. The one who are in short-term contract, they don't have annual increments. You find the outsourced or the casuals, there are benefits that they are not benefiting. For example, medical. And you know, it is very unfair, you know, to subject employees to discrimination. And as a union, we are trying our best to fight that. We've been trying to fight that through CBS, but you find that in some institutions, employers are reluctant even to enter into recognition agreements with the union to negotiate CBS. But you find that in some institutions, and I would commend the university sector where I represent, we have a CBA that covers all employees. The challenge that we are having in the university sector is the issue of outsourcing. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Now that you've mentioned outsourcing, if I'm a member of KUTV and I've been outsourced, when I'm having a conflict, who do I blame, or who do I report against? Am I reporting against the company or the institution that I'm currently working? How does that work?
Sylvia, it's a tricky situation, because now you find that the outsourced employee, for example, who works in institution A, the employer, we don't know the employer. Mm-hmm. And it is even very hard, you know, for that employee to join the union, because now if you don't know the employer, you don't know who to go to. Mm-hmm. And this is quite a problem, because you will find that now this employee who has been outsourced in institution A is working or performing the same duties and responsibilities with maybe a permanent and pensionable employee. So you find that this employee is not even in the union. So we as the union, we are not able to advocate for their rights well. So it is a challenge.
Yes. Is there a hope? Because
yes, there is hope. There is hope because there is this ruling between Kenya Plantation Workers Union and Rea Vipingo, whereby the judge ruled that employees working in the same environment should be subjected to the same terms and conditions of service. So we are using that, as a precedent to ensure that the rights of these workers are protected.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Let me come back to you, Thomas, because I'm looking at this and I'm like, could they have just a backing dog? Because if you look at, for example, the 2017, 2021, the CBA that you're agreeing on with the universities took a very long year. That's around 7 years for it to be implemented. So I'm looking at it as a member or an aspiring member, and I'm looking at if I join this, when exactly are my rights going to be, to be put to the limelight? Because if we are talking about CBAs, if we are talking about the difference with employment terms, the wages, inequality at workplace, I am joining the organization with the thought that I want this to happen as fast as possible. So how strong are you in terms of advocating for this right?
We are really very strong. Uh-huh. And I can assure you, Sylvia, I leave that part of the CBA and that period, my brother will come in universities. But I want to be very honest. We are very serious and focused to defend those who will be supporting and joining KUTV. Mm-hmm. Why am I saying this? If you look at the setup of basic education and the beginning of terms and condition, we have a genesis previously, and sometimes back, this union of KUTV negotiated a collective bargaining agreement, a CBA, with the Ministry of Education for workers who are employed in public secondary and colleges. Public secondary and colleges. We used to negotiate. Then thereafter, there was a change through legal notice number 263, whereby the transfer, 262, whereby the transfer of management of non-teaching staff was done. And the management of boards of management were now allowed to manage the staff in our secondary schools. So through a legal notice, I don't know, but you will do your research to get the legal notice, or if I can provide it for you. Through the legal notice number 263, the ministry directed KUTV to start negotiating individual recognition agreement with each school. We have done a lot of work on that in these secondary schools. And I can assure you, for those who have joined KUTV, and this is in the public domain, we are pushing the BOMs to ensure that these workers are not subjected to unfair labor practice. Why? Because the terms and conditions of service that were negotiated between KUTV and the Ministry of Education, we are borrowing because they are above the current minimum laws of this country in matters of employment. So our issue is join the union, because the union is formed to represent a member, not a non-member. So the effectiveness of the organization and the strength of the union is based on if the institution has joined and we have performed the services, we will give you what is required. For example, you hear the issue of collective bargaining agreement. These are terms and conditions that are negotiated. They start right away. And in fact, in secondary school, I normally put monetary clauses as 10 to 15%. But the rest are protecting your job. They are securing and ensuring that you are not unfairly terminated or sacked. Starting right away from the procedures of disciplinary, the procedures of employment, how you are going to enjoy your services, all those things are in that, benefits are in that CBA. So we are not just backing. We are there to provide services.
Okay. Now, between the public and private sector, in terms of job security, CBAs, regulations, union presence, and salary structures, and of course, including benefits, which one do they have it easier? Is there a side that has it easier than the other in terms of public institutions and private institutions?
Actually, public institutions, for example, in a setup of a secondary school, you will find that when we are pushing for negotiation and improved remunerations in different allowances and salaries, you will find it's very difficult, because sometimes the schools, the board of management will cry that the ministry has not released the money. The ministry will also cry that the treasury has not given the money. So there is a push and pull. But in private sector, where we represent also, Sylvia, I want to remind the viewers that we also represent private secondary schools, private primary schools. They are our members, those who have joined. In those institutions of private, we find that it is easy. You find terms and conditions of services. The employer is looking at it and is looking at a production, because these terms and conditions, when you improve them, then you expect production. Yes. Okay.
Now, let me come back to Johnson. Something that we mentioned before with the KUTV agreement, 2017-2021.
Yes.
Why that long?
Sylvia, it is very unfortunate. And KUTV and the union that represents the university sector, we are very strong. But Sylvia, it is very unfortunate that in the year 2026, we are talking about a CBA of 2017-2021, 2021-2025. Currently, we are negotiating the CBA of 25-26. But the problem, Sylvia, comes to implementation of this CBA. And I don't want to apportion blames, but the biggest challenge that we have been having in the university sector when it comes to CBA's implementation is the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. Yes, we negotiate the non-monetary very well, and we negotiate with a variable body called IPUCCF, Interpublic Universities Consultative Councils Forum, which is represented by the vice chancellors and a technical team. And the issue of the CBA of the 2017-2021 was the challenge was brought up by the SRC, because as the union, there is what we simulated. But unfortunately, when the CBA went to the SRC, they came up with their own simulations, and this brought a difference. And you remember that the unions went to strike. But I want to thank the government, because these issues, the historical CBAs, we are talking about the 17-21 CBA and the 21-25 CBAs. Right now, the government released the money. The government released 3.9 billion for the 17-21 CBA, and also released 2.73 billion. So right now, we are good, but we are still asking the government, because the CBA that we are negotiating, 25-29, we are still behind schedule. We have not completed the financials, and it is because of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. I want to urge, the government to expedite this process, because majority of our members, and especially the members we represent as the union, KUTV Workers Union, they are suffering. They are the most disadvantaged. They earn the less. So when these delays come about, our members continue suffering. And it also affects, the productivity of the members. So the issues of 17-21 and 21-25 arrears, that is done. But we had to do what we had to do as the unions. Yes.
I wouldn't conclude this without asking, what then does it become of the workforce or the members with the automation of systems? Like, for example, right now, we may not need more ICT personnel in the spaces, because we'll have maybe one person who can operate AI working through various machines with the upcoming technology and stuff. How do you plan on managing your members? Because that one, we say that technology is inevitable.
Sylvia, those are what we call emerging trends in the world of work. And to us, as the union, it has really affected us, because you find that now there are jobs that are being declared redundant. And as you've said, it is inevitable. Technology is here and it is here to stay. What we are doing as a union is to diversify and also to encourage our members that, they should go to school. The category of members that we represent, sometimes, there are those levels of education, but we are trying to encourage them to go back to school. But issues of technology, I can tell you, these are issues, they're emerging issues, and how to fight them, it's really difficult. It has really affected the members that we represent. But Sylvia, the works that we represent as a union mostly are not affected. For example, in the university sector, security still, you will need security personnel, you need cleaners, you will need, people to cook, you will need secretaries. We are not that much affected, but if I go to the hotel sector, because we also, KUTV as a multi-sectoral union, even though we are talking about the education sector, in the hotel sector we have really been affected by automation and all that.
Okay. Now finally, Thomas, please help us conclude this. If I join KUTV right now in the next 3, 4, 5 years, what difference will that have on me?
Definitely. Your terms and conditions of service will improve. How? Because we are a service-giving institution. We are a union, and a union is, you join the union with the expectation as a member that today I want to ensure that where I belong, this is my representative. Yes, I have to speak, ensure that your employer recognizes the importance and the role that you are playing, so that your terms and conditions are over and above to motivate you to produce. Yes, because there is no factors that can measure a motivation but production. You only produce, and in our union, we encourage and we have ensured that we have professionals that are giving out services properly to ensure that during negotiation, we come up with the terms that are going to protect your employment and are going to improve what you expect.
All right.
Yes.
I hope that happens and we don't take 7 years like
and I can assure you, Sylvia, in secondary schools and the primary schools, what we have done and the program we are moving with is to ensure that boards of management don't misuse. There is a capitation called personal emolument. And I want to tell those who may be non-teaching staff and they have not joined the union, that is your money, because they have been advised by various documents from the Ministry of Education that this money is meant to pay worker salary, the non-teaching staff, and ensure that they save for them what we call a service gratuity. When they are retiring, they should go home with a package. So if you are a non-teaching staff there and you've not joined KUTV, please, I encourage you to join.
Okay. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for making time for us. This has been a discussion on the plight of non-teaching staff in Kenya's education system. We were joined by Johnson Njine, who is the second Deputy Secretary General, KUTV Workers Union. We're also joined by Thomas Mboya, who is a Senior Deputy Secretary General, KUTV Workers Union, both representing different functions in the education sector, the universities and the basic education. That is the second episode of Understanding KUTV and its mandates with the, should I say, casual workers in various institutions. The next episode, we shall be talking about a different thing. It may be in hospitality, it may be in healthcare, so stay tuned for the same. And if you've not joined them, you might want to find a way of joining the union, because the problem itself, forming a union itself or joining a union itself is a problem. So get one to get your rights defended. Coming up next is the news update. Stay tuned.